Warm welcome. So glad you can join us today. We are going to talk about driving revenue. And my name is Erik Lindholm. I'm the CEO of MarketHype. We are a customer data platform for experiences. So events, tours, attractions, mountaintops, you name it. That's our business and driving market and revenue in those areas. And
My name is Adrian. I'm the commercial director for our mountains segment within Visit Group. Visit Group delivers all-in-one solutions for the travel industry. Everything from independent hotels to attraction resorts and theme parks, or ski resorts, for example. And I'm very much looking forward to having this talk.
Yeah. And we have a partnership with a deep integration, and we have several common customers. So that's the reason why we are here today, and really looking forward to dive into today's topics. So we are going to talk about data-driven marketing, the why and the how. How do we do it? Segmentation. Once we got the data, how do we do great targeting? And then we will look into some pointers and some keys with the communication, great communication. And then we want to scale with automations. And finally, we have a look at the future and AI. So that's the stacked agenda. If you're tuned into some of our Swedish webinars before, you will recognize parts, and there will be some new elements as well. So, but we really wanted to do a best of, a stacked best of before the summer. Okay. So, lots to do. Let's dive into it. Data. Okay. The basics, data-driven. What is it? We want to go from gut feel and years of service to become data-driven. Collect your data, base your decisions on data, drive your marketing decisions on data. So nothing wrong with the great gut feel, but you can't rely on that alone. You have to have more sources of truth today. So combine those two and you have a winning concepts. Okay, you want a solid foundation. You have to set up for success. So you have to collect your online and offline data, and you have to match and aggregate. And when I say match and aggregate, I'm talking about you have to have one customer card unified. You have to aggregate your transactions, so you have a complete transaction history. You have to have all their interactions in one place. And this is a big part of why I'm so excited with the collaboration between us two, because we have a really great integration and data collection set up out of the box. Because you really have to break out of the silos. We all been there. The ERP system, the online sales, the PMS, the email marketing solution, the membership solution, the list goes on. And with data in all these places, you can't do anything. You can't base your decisions, you can't automate on that. So really, you have to collect your data. And this is part of what's really triggering me. This is the reason why MarketHype exists, because this can really be a headache. It can be a large IT project. It can be a real headache to set up. So my thinking and your thinking has been, we got to simplify this.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many challenges to take and change into opportunities. We, as you said, tend to come from so many different silos, entrances into our separated customer data platforms, so many different databases, and this integration that we have removes that, basically.
Yeah.
So the foundational idea of Visit Group, or one of the main focuses, is to drive traffic through your own channels, make sure you own as much as possible of the customer journey. That leaves us with a lot of data. And then we can push it to you, you can get it, and that opens up a lot of opportunities to be very relevant in the communication.
Great. Also, when addressing this and starting to collect data, one advice we usually have is start small and build from that. It's better to get started than not getting started at all. So don't be daunted, start somewhere, get going, and then get great. Okay. So that we want to collect the data and we want to have a solid foundation, but then we have challenges. What challenges are common and what do we want to address really?
Yeah. Well, travel is different from other products, you could say. You tend to have customers that buy something in advance. They don't really know sometimes what they are going to get. So it's based on trust mainly, or expectations or reviews, of course. And if we can, first of all, get the customer to buy in early on this concept of this experience that they are packaging, if we are good at using the data that we get, then we can actually try to get as many touch points in as possible. So the fact that it's a long wait until you are going to get the experience or do the thing is actually an opportunity to make sure you can sell more or have them feel even more confident about their decision, or come back or something like that.
Yeah.
But then we have, of course, the data is scattered, as you said before, and so if our approach is that we want to have everything in one basket, as we always say, or the one-stop shop, then it's worth quite little without the possibility to also gather that and use it in a very, I would say, straightforward way. As the MarketHype tool is quite straightforward.
Yeah. So there are specifics that are challenging, but it's also an opportunity. We have a great opportunity to communicate for a long time with our customers.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, great. So just to wrap up the data-driven part of this talk, we want to collect the data, we want to analyze the data, and then we want to use it for targeting and shaping your messages. One thing I'm going to come back to, are going to come back to, is that you probably can communicate much more than you think you can, and much more than many do, actually. As long as you're relevant, and that's what it's all about. Being relevant, then you can communicate a whole lot more and drive revenue and growth. Okay. And once you've done part of this, or many of the things, you can get nice views like this, where you have aggregated the customer interactions and you can follow your segments and see how they are performing, analyze purchase behavior, etc., etc. That really helps guide and shape your messaging. Okay. Great. Okay, so now we got the data.
Yep. Let's head into segments.
Let's head into segments and great targeting. Okay, so you don't want to spray and pray. You want to have great targeting. Sometimes you can talk to all customers, but this can't be the default. You usually have to use segments, and this is really the way to slice up your data and be more relevant by targeting and really avoiding tiring the wrong recipients.
Yeah, I have to add something there. I feel like a lot of times, it's you don't really have the capacity to run a full marketing division doing all these send-outs that are relevant, because that's probably the most important part. But you may use a tool that only allows also for a very broad, or not narrow, the other word, approach. So let's say you have only the email addresses. Of course, you can do the spray and pray.
Yeah.
but that will also leave you with tired customers. And I feel like in the travel or industry, or so it seems, that's a common theme, because you tend to connect the I don't have time part to let's not use a tool that allows us to use little time but be relevant instead. Just the thought that I had.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. When we are talking about segments, I feel it's useful to have a frame of thinking, a frame to base your discussions on. So I hope this can be useful to you as well when you talk about segments. So we can talk about demographic segmentation. So that's obviously gender, age, etc. You have like your young adults, that's your growth segment. You have your families, you have your happy elderlies or whatever. Okay, so that's one way to slice your data and think about your audience. Geographic segmentations, different regions have vacation in different times. So you want to tailor your targeting and your communication to that, for instance. Psychographic segmentations. So here you have lifestyle data. One thing to say, we have built in data augmentation in MarketHype. So we always add data points to the ones that you get in, and we fact check things to get real data and geolocations and so forth. But then you can add additional data as well. You want to perhaps add the income, household income, children in household, and that kind of data. So, and this is based on your use case, totally possible, of course. And then you have the behavior. What are they buying? What kind of packages? When? For how much? What price range, etc. So just to give a framework to think about when starting to discuss these different kind of segments. What do you want them to do? This is a really beneficial question, I think.
Yes.
To start with, if you ask yourself what you want your customers to do, then and start the discussion with your colleagues with this as a frame of thought, you're off to a good start.
Yeah, and it comes down to that you need to know your customer, as was mentioned before. We kind of expect that the ones that know the customers the most would be the ones that are delivering the service, welcoming in the reception, or selling the ski pass or the entrance ticket face to face, oftentimes. And once we get to know our customers, we can, if we use the data, we can see some trends. So usually, if we have, for example, a package or someone booking a full vacation, it will consist of different things. For me, in my daily work, that's often an accommodation of some sort with a ski pass, maybe ski rental as well. And you can clearly see that even though from the first part of the booking time or the time frame, let's say now ahead of the big holidays in the winter, we'll see that many people will pick up all the products at the same time. But then we have some that don't, because they realize, okay, there's probably not going to be a risk of us not getting the ski pass, for example. But they still book the accommodation. And so now you have time to work with that customer if you have a tool that allows for it. So if you want to stay relevant to, let's say, a group who booked the accommodation in September and they are arriving in week 7, and you want to target those, this can be done in MarketHype. The ones that didn't buy the ski pass, for example. But of course, earlier pickup time, which is something that I think is important now with the discussions on dynamic pricing as well. Like if your pickup time is the same day or the day before, that doesn't leave much room for the dynamic pricing rules to kick in. So I think at the same time as we're seeing that dynamic pricing is on the rise or into our travel industry as well, I think that it's more and more important every day to start working with your customers and change the behavior. So I think that's one of the things that you want to teach your customers, that it's worth to commit to something earlier.
Yeah, And then you want to have new salaries along the way. So
Yeah, absolutely.
There's the one salary, and then there's the upgrade salary in November, and then it's a new wallet when they arrive. Okay, yeah.
And we have a poll here, trying to get this poll thing going. What do you want your customers to do? You want them to fill certain periods, absolutely. And that would differ between probably markets, geographic markets. So you would have one segment that is Danish people; they will show up 1 week.
Yeah.
But then you have a segment for one of our customers in Sweden, in Norway, Norefjell.
Yeah.
Great user of MarketHype, by the way.
Yeah. Shout out.
They are filling like the first weeks of the year with Swedes. So week 1 would be full of Swedes. That's
Great.
one.
Yeah.
So you want to use the information that you have to make sure you target with, again, relevant dates. Book early, book add-ons, naturally. How do you get someone to book more stuff? You tell them what's going on. So as you're approaching the arrival date, you let them know that your favorite artist will be here, for example. Then, obviously, if a customer feels like you know them, that's very good. But if you can communicate them in such a way that they also feel like they know you, I think that's going to be very powerful. So the add-on of data, you know where they live, you're watching, you're connecting them, that you can see the historical purchases. You start to really, it's like you become friends almost.
Yeah. Totally. That's great, and I hope it gives you ideas and start a process. But then you say, okay, but wait a minute. What I want the customers to do, isn't that the wrong way to go about it? Shouldn't I care about what the customer wants? But I should say the next step is to take a step back. Okay, so if you know your targets, you want to fill this period. This is certainly this is a period that's hard for us to fill. So that's one of our goals, one of our targets. Then you take a step back once you define that, and you say, okay, why should they want the same thing that I want? Why should they want to come during this period and not the week after or the month after that? So, and then you take the customer perspective, and you have to tailor your offerings and your packaging and your communication and everything around that. And who would be willing to come in this period? Who is likely? Who can I drive to have the same goal as myself, really? So
that would come down to then the value maybe of purchase or where you are living or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, data that is easy to use in this integration.
Yeah, definitely. So just we thought we show some examples of example of segments to get you going. So you spoke about it, Swedes.
Yeah.
So a geographic segment for targeting in certain areas, and in our solution, it's their address, and it's data augmented. So it's the correct address with the correct geolocation, not the IP. Another frame of reference is obviously first-time buyers, and this is really down to your business if you want to target them, if it's important that it's within the first 90 days or first year or first week. This is depending on your use case, but you really want to have a strategy in place. When I get the first-time buyers, what is our communication? How do we turn this into a repeat customer? And this kind of reference is one way to look at customers, the customer life cycle. So you have the first-time buyers, and what strategy do you have for them? And then you go into, okay, my repeat customers, how do I keep them active? What's our strategy here? And then, of course, okay, these folks have bought a lot historically, but they are not active right now. So here we are fearing churn, and then we have to have a strategy to pick them up and reactivate customers. So that's another way to slice your data and think about your customers. Okay, so some filtering, some MarketHype UI. You can see, okay, here I have families. I have set up a filter, at least one child in the booking. How many people do we have? How big part of our audience is this? What's the SNIT spend? Gender, geolocation maps, and so forth. Well, the tools you need to analyze, really.
You have some quite powerful, again, in the integration, as you get so much data. You get what product they bought. You can, so your season pass group, for example, or segment.
Yeah.
That's something that is dead easy to get started with.
Yeah.
As I feel like the threshold in this tool, I've used it quite a lot to understand it, and it seems threshold to get started with just those, as you would maybe call standard segments.
Yeah.
That is super easy.
Yeah. Okay, we have done collecting data. We have looked at targeting and finding our segments, and let's get into communication. So this part probably well known for most of you, but it's never wrong to get a refresher and point out some things that you might or might not know, and things that you perhaps have forgotten also. So, okay, who is your reader? Obviously, the starting point for all the communication. Okay, I want to be crystal clear on my reader, and targets, segments, these kinds of things we just been through is your guide. So who is my reader? I can analyze them, understand them. What's your purpose? What's your goal, as we spoke on before? And why should they care? So are you relevant to them? Okay, we know who they are. We know what we want them to do, but am I relevant? And why should they care about this? You really have to be clear on this. Okay, then keep it simple, to the point. Don't forget mobile. Okay, and images, moving images, emojis, it works. So use it. Subject lines with emojis work. So good to know. So we have some examples. So this is for a hotel, obviously. Clear call to action, 30% off. It's Christmas sales, and thinking about your tone of voice. So a little cheeky, save electricity, book your room. Finding your tone of voice and really clear messaging and to the point. Great. Well, you have to think about mobile. This isn't that great. So this is not a great example. Obviously missed out on checking out in mobile. So you have to have your email tool able to switch between desktop, mobile, and devices to make sure that your styling is on point and that you can adjust your styling depending on the platform. Otherwise, you end up with a really bad experience. Okay, so that's one example. Here's a tone of voice. Becoming personal. This is it takes some guts to be personal, and you have to really think about your messaging. But if you can work up to that point, like here, high love in this example, if you can pull it off, it's really powerful. So this company has a really thought out strategy where they want to get to the point of being really personal, and that's their profile, and it works for them.
Somewhere in the back of my head, I think I heard somewhere that we like people that like us. So if you love me, then obviously I'm going to love you back.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. And moving images and to the point, we know. So this is and being with the time span we have as our disposal, we have to get really to the point. So short images, moving images, great content, it works. So use it. And as we know, like email, the platform doesn't support video, but then you can have moving GIFs and this kind of content, and that works great. So okay. So some basic pointers but really what you need. Okay, some more examples and some more pointers. So really dare to get personal, as we just spoke about. Try it out, and if you like me, I like you. Okay. Pay attention to your subject line. So what do I see in my inbox? I see the sender and I see the subject line, and perhaps one or two sentences on some platforms. But can't stress enough your subject line and how it's composed and emojis work. This is super important. So yeah, don't mess up the call to action. keep it clear and obvious what you want them to do. Urgency and exclusivity works, and if this isn't natural, you have to think about it sometimes. Is there a reason why this should be 48 hours sale? Why can this offer be just for today? Is it our birthday today and that's why, or is it some important holiday and that's why we have a specific time frame? Because you want to drive, not all the time, but you want to use this as a tool in your toolbox as well. Looking at urgency and exclusivity. FOMO is real. I don't want to miss out. So okay, and test, try different strategies, see what works for you. Okay, so a couple of more examples. Perhaps it's cheating when you're Håkan Hellström, but nevertheless, great content. So he released the chords and the lyrics to a song before it was released, and urged fans to make covers before they heard the original. So great strategy, building relationship, building brand, activating customers, and being creative really. So just great strategy. Maybe you can translate that into something that works in your business. Did we mention we miss you already? Post-stay strategies, as you were alluding to earlier. So this is a strategy one customer keeps, and this is sent out like 60 days, 90 days after stay. I know for a fact that this converts really well. Just a reminder. In this, it's no call to action or nothing, just caring about your customers, letting them know, but just reminding them of the great experience, getting top of mind again. These kinds of emails do drive revenue, and that's what we're talking about here today. So
clearly, I feel like I would have. Did we mention miss you already? That would have gotten me. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's great. And some more examples. So trying to not just talk the talk, walk the walk as well. So clear messaging, short messaging, but what we wanted to highlight here is really obvious, big call to action, big button, clear. What do we want the customer to do? We want them to sign up for the webinar, and luckily you did. So that's great, and great work, Matilda. So okay, and this is mobile friendly, obviously, as you see as well. This is a design that really stacks up great on mobile, obviously. So okay, so more inspiration really. You have to, as I said, find reasons to talk to customers sometimes, and this is also very brand aware, brand building from Voi. They want to be a safe partner. They want to be a responsible partner for the city and all the travelers. So they launched a traffic school, and then they give you a promo for signing up. Driving adoption of the service as well as building brand. Great campaign, really. So you can combine these things together, and sometimes you want to have a you really want to have an excuse to give a discount that doesn't interfere with your normal business. So this is a great way you can give a discount and you have a reason for it.
Yeah, but isn't that again back to relevance?
Yeah,
it feels when you can clearly connect it to, oh, obviously that's of course we're giving a discount for it, and then that will be picked up by the customer as well.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. But I'm curious. You mentioned mobile quite a lot. I tend to stress it also.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And we always should test stuff, especially in mobile.
Yeah.
As more and more are going there. You have numbers on the frequency and opening on mobile or desktop. How important is it if you just ballpark numbers?
Oh, yeah. So first of all, I should say there's been a drop-off in data in this department since Chrome had locked down and Apple locked down and so forth. So you really don't, and they open the emails on the servers today, so you don't get the final device on a lot of things. So the data points on this has really dropped, but there's a clear majority for mobile, obviously. So like 2/3 or something like that. But as I said, unfortunately, the data is not as good as it used to be, but it's better for privacy, obviously. So okay,
you can maybe look inwards and see how do you interact with your emails.
Yeah.
Tend to be 90% mobile for me.
Yeah.
At least outside of work hours, definitely mobile all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that was some pointers on communication and best practices. As I said before, if you have any questions, just post them in the chat. We have a lot to cover, as said. Okay, so best practices. Quality recipients. You don't want to tire the wrong recipient because if you communicate to the right audience all the time, you can communicate a lot more and you stay relevant and you don't drive churn. So, okay. Quality recipients, multi-channel is a must. It's not enough with the email today. You have to do SMS, you have to do social media, you have to do your blog, your website. You have to coordinate these things because the algorithm isn't that as easy or nice as it used to be. It's a battle out there, really. Work on your hooks, work on your messaging. Really have a focus on who the recipient is. Test a lot, do a lot of tests, set your targets, celebrate when you achieve a great click-through rate or new goal in openings or whatever you set target as, and follow up all the time and keep track so you don't drive churn.
We have an interesting question here.
Yeah.
Is if your company has a strategy for your customers and guest journeys, and the vast majority, 86% said yes.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so we have talked about the importance of collecting data, segmentation for targeting, keeping your communication on point, and then you want to scale up. And here, really, automation is your friend. So, can you inspire us about automation, Adrian?
Yes, there are so many examples, and many of them are, when you see them, they're very oh yeah, of course that should be done. But it's worth mentioning that if you can, as we said before, let someone that is arriving, that even though you're coming and going to have the best spa experience or the best skiing experience, don't forget that at the same time you're also having a chance to see again your favorite band, or we have this amazing event going on. And even though they might not act on that, they will clearly be thinking about it when they show up and they start to get excited for it.
Yeah.
But then some things that are maybe not here or can maybe be in the pre-stay part, but if you have a possibility to filter out and segment on people that haven't bought your products that you want them to get before they arrive, to have the new wallet ready.
Yeah.
then to make sure to be very, very good at executing on that part. Let's say, for example, ski pass is a good example. Either you buy it way in advance or you get it just before you come, and that will be then very much dependent on the weather situation. So let's say you show up and you in the parking lot, you see, okay, so 3 out of 6 days will be not, the weather will be terrible. Then you're not getting the full week ski pass, and you miss out on revenue. But if you can get them to maybe not commit when they book the accommodation, but maybe 10 days in advance instead. You're much more likely to actually get all the days. So to use the pre-stay in a relevant scenario to also get them to lock in on all the products that you want, you have your core offer. I think that is something to really use MarketHype in our integration as well. There are so many tools for it. I like the thing you mentioned about urgency and exclusivity. The happy birthday email, I haven't thought about it in that like that. It's just you tend to get an email saying, you need to get this right now. Usually I don't really feel like I need to get it for any reason. But if you manage to do it like that, to get them to, oh, yes, I need this. I'm deserving a spa treat or whatever it might be. That's kind of great. Would also be interesting again to see if the audience have any things that are not represented in the list. If they can think about anything else. But it's clear you should use these, and how it's easy to set them up, and it's easy to schedule them, I presume as well.
So you set them up and what you want to trigger on and those kinds of things, and that's really part of why you want a platform for your industry to make this kind of easy. Because one thing that is really common is that when you go for some general e-commerce tool, it gets kind of complicated because it doesn't take in the aspects of our industry really. So be inspired, try things out here as well, and see if it drives revenue and benefits your cause. And as we've been alluding to now, it's great to if you manage to shop up their spend in different periods, you will get a great piece of the wallet for sure. So a little inspiration. So this is thank you for your purchase. This is with a very clear discount. You might want to do that. You might not want to do that, depending on the use case. But very to the point and very clear on what they want you to do next, driving next step. As you said, birthday. Of course, you should have birthday. It's a reason to promote and driving revenue and customer retention. So once again, post day, try different. A lot of post day is like the day after email with a survey, and that's fine, totally fine. Set that up, but try other steps as well, and prolong your communication window with the customer.
Because the guest journey, it's not over when the guest checks out.
No.
It's kind of over when you decide. That it is.
Exactly. So try more and different steps, and as you spoke about earlier here, caring about them, and like in this one, you have a summer guide included. So being relevant, trying to boost there's the thing they already booked, showing that you care, that they have a good time, and then you can also promote stuff, and this will work great in conjunction, really. So automate for scale, so personalized communication at scale. That's what Steve Jobs said, the computer was the bicycle of the mind. So automation is the bicycle of marketing then, I guess.
Naturally.
Of course. So we covered a lot of ground here. We talked about data, segmentation, communication, and automations. feel free, if you want us to set up webinars with in-depth in each of these areas, please let us know. So we are scheduling more webinars this fall, so getting into details. But finally, we want to talk a little about the buzzword right now, AI. So this could be like a week on its own, I think. Probably. So we can't do that, but we want to touch upon it. And I really want to urge everyone to get going and trying stuff, because these things are really going to change things, and it's going to be a lot easier as a marketeer going forward. So just tag along and see what things are. I want to say that generative models, that's really hype now, like image generating models or text generating models. We had big breakthroughs in these areas, and that's all the hype. But data science is really much larger, and you have things like decision making, forecasting, optimization, driving automations as well. This is perhaps not something that you as an individual in an organization do for yourself, but vendor questions, like questions for us, what we do in these aspects. So it's good to know that it's a much larger field, and things are happening also in other areas really fast. And we are going to launch services and things this fall in relation to other areas of data science. So,
and I've seen some examples. Obviously, I've seen the presentation, and some of these examples are, I mean, everyone should try it out.
Yeah.
Because even if you feel it's maybe not personal enough, or it feels like you're cheating, maybe, or something like that, it's to get some inspiration. It's definitely just, for example, use ChatGPT or copy AI, as we'll see.
Yeah.
And then maybe you also just a thing. You maybe saw the Google event where they had their AI book a hairdresser appointment.
Yeah.
And it was like, what?
Yeah.
So many things are happening.
Definitely. So on the generative side, where you can try out things today, obviously, so image. A lot of things happening in image editing. So here we have Sune, right? So Matilda's dog Sune, trying out in Photoshop. So you want to extend the background, and you have Photoshop render alternative backgrounds, and you can flip through them. So optimization of images, extensions like this, removing stuff, works really great, and really fast progress there. So try it out. And all the big vendors like Photoshop, Figma, we have an integration with Canva directly in our tool that you can use, and they have all these kinds of services. So I'm sure you guys already use this, and if you don't, really try it out. Great for alternatives as well, to extend your image library and not use the same picture, to get alternatives. So do try that out. As you said, this is a kind of a meta, asking ChatGPT for other services. So it's a meta question. So ChatGPT, of course, is great. It's all the hype. Here it listed as the number one for copywriting, copy AI. So that's a great great tool to just try. So, and just to give some context on this, the basic models is really, prices are dropping really fast, but it's still crazy expensive to build these kinds of models. So there are only a few models out there that are the basic foundation models, like OpenAI, like Google have a couple of them, Meta has a couple of them, and then there are some others. But the really big models are a few, and all these services that pop up are really tuning on top of some other model. So they have a smaller data set for just copywriting, and they train one of these models on that, and then they launch a service. So this is probably fine-tuning of some other of the big five companies' models, just as a context. But here we are asking for some captions, right? Instagram captions. So when you use this, it's tuned for copywriting. Go try it out. Why not? See what you can get. And Matilda uses it all the time. I use it a lot. Variations, great for variations. Write one shot at your text and get a couple of alternatives.
It's so fun to see how it just. I want to tell this in a different tonality, for example. Okay. Here you are.
Yeah. So
it's fascinating stuff.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, so that's just skimming the surface of AI, really. Go out there and try for yourself. So what we talked about today, we have talked about being data-driven. We have talked about segmentation and targeting, and how to work on your communication and pointers for that to be really relevant. Automations for scale, and finally some dipping your toes into machine learning in AI. Okay, crystal clear then.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for joining. Looking forward to see you next time.